Hello friends, today we are going to be talking about the pros and cons of being a sales rep. So you want to be a sales rep. You've seen some of the big money that's been made in sales and you'd love to try your hand at it. Well, before you jump in, it would be wise to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly before you make that jump into becoming a sales rep. Now, over the last couple of decades, I've worked with thousands of sales reps and I've seen sales reps that have made over $1 million annually. I've also seen some that have really struggled to even make ends meet. So how do you know if sales is right for you? Well, you're in luck because today I'm going to be breaking that down. First, I want to talk to you about the sales industry. Secondly, I want to break down the traits and qualities that make a great salesperson. And finally, I want to go over the pros and cons of being a sales rep. If you're ready, let's go. So I've been in sales my whole life. It's really the only thing I understand. Now, being in sales, I've moved up to management. I've moved up to president, vice president. I currently own an organization that does a lot of sales, but sales is something I know. It started out with me on the doors, knocking doors for summers, doing sales. And I love sales. I love what it can do for individuals. Sales is what literally makes the world go round. A good friend of mine would always tell me this quote that his dad would say. He would say, "Nothing in the world happens until a sale is made." Now think about that. Every organization needs sales to happen. I mean, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether it's going through the store, in order for that company to see revenue, a sale has to occur. So literally, nothing in the world does happen until a sale is made. You know, and if you think about it, sales penetrates every industry. Whether you're selling diamond rings, cars, things online, sales is everywhere. So being a sales rep, your opportunities are endless. You could work in any industry that you want. However, you want to make sure that the industry that you're working in has upside, right? Think about it. If you were in the industry right now of selling Palm Pilots, many of you don't even know what Palm Pilots are, but it's something that's very antiquated that maybe in 2001, 2002 would have been a great industry to be in, but technology has passed it by. They don't even exist anymore. At least I don't even know if they exist anymore. And think about it. If you were selling personal computers in the early 90s, mid 90s, that'd probably be a good industry to be in. Or if you were selling internet service at the late 90s, early 2000s, that probably was a great industry to be in. Why? Because the industry that you were selling in had kind of a hockey stick type of movement that was heading in the right direction. So being in that industry that is on the forefront of something big is probably the best sales industry to be in. Now let's talk about traits and qualities of great salespeople. But first, I want you to think about things that turn you off from salespeople. Now, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I don't like salespeople," or "I don't like being around salespeople," or "I don't like being sold," maybe because of the attributes that they characterize with salespeople. So let's think about it. What is it about salespeople that maybe stereotypically you do not like? Well, they might be pushy, they might be aggressive, they might be loud, they might be obnoxious. So if that's the stereotypical personification of a salesperson, we want to be the opposite of that. The opposite of that is going to attract people to talk to you. And over the last 30 years of being in sales, here are some of the qualities and traits that have stood out to me that make a great sales individual. And this is interesting. So I've hired thousands of salespeople over the last 2 decades. There was something interesting that we found when we hired sales representatives. One thing that stood out is these people were involved in something competitive. I remember we hired an individual that had done theater for many years. Now, theater by itself, you might think, man, that person's going to be good. He might be dramatic. He might be able to get his point across. He probably speaks clearly, or she speaks clearly. This person had really had to be competitive to earn certain roles in the theater and drama classes that he was taking. Because of that, he had done really well. We had this one young lady, and she didn't seem like, if you were to tell me that this person was going to be great at sales, I probably would have said, I just don't see it. She's quiet, she's a little bit reserved, but she was a competitive swimmer. So she knew what it was like to compete and when to step it up when it was game time. She knew how to really drive herself forward to excel. So being competitive is really a top characteristic of a great salesperson. Also, to be a great salesperson, you have to like people, right? If you don't like people, you don't like talking to people, you don't like being around people, you're probably going to struggle. So you have to like people and be able to be around people. Another characteristic that I believe is important is being persistent. Now, there's a difference between being persistent and being pushy. Pushy has a negative connotation along with it. Persistent is just being that person that is going to follow up. You're consistent and you do it in a right way that reminds person that there's an opportunity waiting for them. And it is a skill that you can learn, but learning that skill is vital to seeing success in sales. Also, great salespeople are resilient. I remember remember I had done door-to-door sales for 2 summers. In my 3rd summer, I was experienced. I was one of the better salespeople that were out there. And I remember I was knocking doors one day. I'd gone all day long. I got 0 sales. It was toward the end of the night. And I remember thinking to myself, is this really a day that I'm going to go without sales? I don't think I've ever had that in my history of door-to-door sales. I remember sitting down by a tree. It was super hot outside. It was humid. And I remember thinking, okay, there's something going on with me, something that I'm giving off, a way that I'm approaching it. So I just need to calm down. I need to breathe. I need to relax. And when I was able to do that, I was able to decompress. But I knew that I didn't want that to define me. Me getting 0 sales, I did not want that to define me. So I took a moment. I calmed down. I went back out there. I was able to get a couple sales that day. It definitely wasn't one of my better moments, but I was resilient. I knew that if I kept persisting, that I was going to see success. And the next day I saw even more. And that summer I had a great summer. Finally, good salespeople are energetic, right? Their energy matches their personality though, right? You can't overdo it. If I'm all hyper and excited and I'm yelling and screaming, but that's really not who I am, people are going to recognize that, right? So you've got to think in tones. You've got to be yourself, but you've got to be your most energetic self. You've got to be your most excited self. You've got to be your most persistent self, your most believing self. And if you can do that, that will come through in the way that you talk and speak to individuals. So let's talk quickly about the pros and cons of becoming a salesperson. Some of the pros are you can make a lot of money. You can really do well. If you believe in yourself, if you're in a good industry and you are consistently making yourself better, there's an opportunity to get paid what you're worth. Many times as a sales rep, you can have a flexible schedule. And a lot of times atmospheres that are associated with sales are high energy. It's a fun atmosphere. The company realizes that salespeople love that type of environment, so they bring things in to help create that type of atmosphere. So you can have a fun, energetic, exciting, flexible environment with being the sales representative and the opportunity to make really good money. So what are some of the cons of being a sales representative? Well, number one, your pay could be inconsistent, right? You might have weeks where you make a lot of money. You might go many weeks without making much money. And that inconsistency can drive people crazy, right? If you're somebody who likes things a certain way all the time and consistency, then sales might not be for you, because there's chances are if you're in sales, if you've ever done sales, there's going to be weeks where you do great, weeks where you don't do so great. And by being able to weather that storm and being persistent and making yourself better, you can see great results in the future, but there are sometimes rocky starts to getting involved in sales. Another con is sometimes when you're getting started, a lot of times it's longer hours. You've got to be available when consumers are ready to buy, and that sometimes requires longer hours. Also, being in sales, it could be more challenging to move up in an organization when you start in sales, right? Because the opportunities to get management positions and different things like that might be a little bit more challenging if you're bottled in sales. So that could be a potential con. So what should you do? If you're considering sales, I would say, number one, do you like being around people? Do you feel that you can be persuasive? Do you like a high energy atmosphere? Are you willing to sacrifice short-term gain for long-term success? If you are, that could also be a great opportunity to do sales, because learning sales and a skill set in sales takes time. And sometimes, as I mentioned, the start can be a little bit rocky, a little bit rough, but if you're willing to dedicate that time and you're willing to sacrifice a short-term gain for long-term success, you're going to see the benefits and you'll reap the benefits of sales. Ultimately, do you trust your abilities to excel? Are you the type of individual that is willing to take on a challenge and move forward and see success? If that's you, sales could be a great opportunity for you. So that's my experience. I've seen great success in sales. I love sales. I love educating and teaching and training about sales, but I'd love your feedback. What are some pros and cons that you've seen when it comes to sales? Now, as always, I've got a free gift for you. It's actually a sales and persuasion course. It's a 12-part series. Just click on the link below, aaronsSalesTraining.com, and you'll receive my 12-part series on sales and persuasion. Once again, thanks for visiting. Have an awesome day.